I mean, we have, I mean, North America in general has health as a big issue. When I'm talking about obesity, diabetes, there's so many different factors. But every time I travel to the US, when you go to Texas or anywhere else, I mean, I go to cross the border to Buffalo, and you go walk into a mall, and it feels like obesity is just a common thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's how is that going to change? Is that going to change?
It will change. We need to bring some consciousness into people. We need people to get out of the matrix that they were programmed to live and start making conscious choices, because our health, our relationship, success in business, whatever it is basically the end result of the conscious choices that we make. Or actually, they're the end result of the choices that we make. You get to decide if you're going to do it consciously or unconsciously, because here we go. The autopilot and the messages we get from living our modern day life is, we don't sleep. We'll sleep when we're dead because we got to push out there. We're in so much stress. You know, we get a lot of marketing from big food companies and things like that on Whoppers and burgers and all these unhealthy foods. There's sugar in everything we eat, you know. And so, you know, just in the world alone, we saw life expectancy actually climb every single year. But in 2017, it actually dropped, meaning right around that time, you know, you could expect that their kids might not outlive their parents during that time. Now, why is that the case? We've got 1 in 2 people in America, 1 in 4 people in America actually has a chronic disease. And sorry, let me get the stats right. 1 in 2 Americans has a chronic disease. And then 1 in 4 Americans have multiple chronic diseases. Me being one of them 5 years ago. High blood pressure, overweight, probably obese, you know, I have to check my BMI at the time, but I was a pretty chunky kid or adult. And then also diabetes. And those are metabolic health problems. And those problems, you know, aren't just showing up because we've got some toxin that's making us sick, or that some virus, you know, is coming in and all of a sudden people are sick. People are changing the way that they live. And it's how they live actually turns on the genes that make people sick. So there is genes that get turned on, genes that get turned off, and you could actually program your DNA by how you live your life. So how you show up in the world every day and how you live your life. And in my book, Thrive State, I talk about that in 7 key areas: sleep, nutrition, movement, your stress or emotional, you know, mastery, or like your thought and your mindset, your relationships with people, and then finally, are you living with a sense of purpose? All of these 7 major factors actually control the environment, the molecular environment of your cells. And if you live in such a way that says, hey, I'm really living my true life, you actually talk to your genes, and your genes will gift you with optimal health. If you're living in a stress state, you know, and those 7 areas are off in your life, you are telling basically your cells that you are in danger, and your cells turn on the danger response. Cortisol goes up, inflammation goes up, your immune system goes down. And in that state, that's when you have suboptimal cells that lead to suboptimal tissues, that lead to suboptimal organs, that lead to suboptimal systems. And when you've got suboptimal systems in your body, that's when you've got symptoms. That's when you got chronic disease. And so the epidemic of chronic disease we have worldwide is not a disease of our genetics, but a disease of our consciousness and our subsequent choices. So if you stay in autopilot, you start to live a life that's stressed out, that's angry, that's not showing up, if you are resentful for the people that have hurt you, if you're, you know, putting junk in your diet, if you're not moving around every single day, you create an environment for yourselves that are in this stress state. But if you start to become a little bit more conscious and audit your life in each one of these 7 areas and say, how am I showing up in these 7 areas? And you pause, am I in autopilot and going after what I've learned to do for a long time? Or can I pause and say, no, I'm going to show up a little bit differently? That tactical pause is something that is so important. You know, Viktor Frankl. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go. Finish that quote.
Yeah. Viktor Frankl had this quote. Viktor Frankl is a Holocaust survivor who was a physician in Nazi internment camps. And he saw so much death in family and friends, but he still had this to say. He said, between stimulus and response, there's a space.
Yeah.
And in that space is our power to choose our response.
Yeah.
And in our response lies our growth and freedom. So we all have this space, no matter what's coming at us. Coronavirus, if we've got, somebody leaving us and getting fired, that we could create this space and still from that space, always choose how we show up. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's hopefully empowering to a lot of people that want to take their health back.
So how do we go about, let's, okay, these are all great, but put ourselves in a low income area, growing up in a low income area where it's healthier. I wouldn't say healthier, sorry, I apologize. It's easier and cheaper to eat junk food than eat healthy.
Yeah.
Isn't that doesn't government have to put mandates in place to change that? When it's easier to grab a couple of cheeseburgers than sit down with your family and eat a nutrition-filled vegetables and meat and healthy diet, how these are all great things we're saying, but it's that accessibility, it's the cost. There's so many factors that are changing. And then as a parent, from day one, we have been feeding our kids my kids they take omegas, they take probiotics, they take their vitamin D every day. They're taking vitamins. I have an understanding of health. I graduated college in the Finnish leadership program. So I understand it. And we've been instilling it from day one. My wife making healthy choices, teaching them healthy choices. They're allowed to eat junk food, but understanding the balance, understanding what and how their body's going to react to foods, teaching them, educating them, giving them good foods, filling them with good foods. I'm able to do that because of my understanding and my knowledge for myself.
Yeah.
When you get a child growing up in an environment where their parents are eating fast food every day, it's just a reflection of their environment. How do we change that?
That's a great question. And it has to come from multiple different sources. I mean, I'm at a county facility, usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is why today I'm so honored to be able to talk to you today. And it's a very indigent population. And unfortunately, like you said, a lot of the cheaper foods are more accessible to many people. And they're the ones that are showing up at the hospitals that are now using taxpayer dollars to go through the treatment, and they're just going to go through drugs. They will continue doing what they're doing. And then, more drugs being bought, more hospital time, and nobody getting well. So there's a couple of things. Number one, I do feel like there might be some lower cost things that people in food deserts and in indigent populations can do. There are people that basically, for example, some people, when the foods don't look really nice, some people just throw them out. But there are a lot of places now that are recycling, just foods that don't look right, but completely healthy. And so there's a lot of those things that kind of going on. And there's starting to be a little bit more access to the people with the poor. But it's not, necessarily an access to better food, but an access to a better consciousness and
education. Yeah.
And at least where I'm coming from, I feel like, how do we get into this place, in the first place? I mean, we have messages of the life that we should be living on social media and on TV shows and things like that. People are learning, we got to hustle, we got to not sleep. And oh my God, that burger is delicious. But people, today, a big theme is presence and consciousness and being able to choose. Because if you're not there, you're in autopilot. And where's autopilot? Autopilot is getting your consciousness hijacked by media, by culture. You're not really choosing. And so, at least for me, I think now I'm combining what I wanted to do as a child to what I know now. I mean, I always sort of wanted to do media and entertainment, but after recognizing where chronic disease truly comes from and having that journey of being able to get rid of chronic disease. And here's an awesome thing too. Not only are you reversing disease when you do that, you become a fitter, stronger, smarter, and better version of yourself when you do so. And you have more to give to the world. And, at least how I'm attacking it is that if we're losing people due to the media and entertainment that's out there, can we have media and entertainment that that could inspire, that will let people wake up to, okay, maybe those are the foods that we shouldn't be eating, and potentially, me doing shows that don't involve sponsors that feed a lot of money to give people the wrong type of messages. But it's a multifactorial question. from business to corporations to
Uh,
governments